I wanted to come to you guys today and talk about my experience with EMDR. Not just as a clinician, as a therapist, I wanted to talk to you about it when I experienced it as a client. One of the requirements when we go through training is that we have to experience it as a client. We have to process real traumas that we've had over time that have led to the way that we kind of look at the world and interact with the world right now. And when I tell you guys, this was life changing. It has only been a few months. I am still looking for an EMDR therapist. So if you're out there and you see this video, I'm looking for you, okay? And I was able to reprocess some things that have already made major changes in the way that I interact with people right now, and the way that I see myself, and the way that I just look at life right now. And to me, that is bananas. Like this first trauma that I reprocessed, which is called the touchstone memory. It's that beginning trauma, that thing that kind of set it off for you. It was something that I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and every time up until recently, every single time I went back and thought about that moment, I was so sad. I was so emotional about what I'd experienced, and I could feel like I was right in that moment anytime I thought about it. For how old am I? 20 something years, I continued to think, woe is me, anytime I went to that moment. And so I'm reprocessing, and I decide I'm really just going to give it my all, because why not? You know, I'm going to look at it as free therapy, and I think everybody can use someone to talk to. So I am reprocessing this experience, and it starts out, and I'm her, right? I'm me. Me is her. I'm in my body as a 6 or 7 year old, re-envisioning this story. And the things that happened next were bananas. So when we experience a traumatic event, there are all sorts of things that are going on in that moment. And with that memory. And so there's going to be the true stuff. Then there's going to be the not true stuff. The flat out, this did not happen. This is not right. But our brains and how we saw it, this is how we get this picture and this memory. And then there are the emotions, there are the thoughts, there are beliefs that are negative that we have about ourselves, and what that must mean about us, that we've gone through this thing, right? And what that must mean about what other people think about us, or how other people see us. So I had all that stuff going on. And I'm now back in this moment that I know is going to be emotional for me, because even when I thought about it for 20 something years, I got emotional. And so I'm in this moment, I'm reprocessing, I'm starting out as me, and I just feel really sad. And I'm like, this sucks, okay? But I'm in the process, so I'm going to stick with it. Mind you, this is all happening in one day. And so as we continued to go through this process, I started to not be in that little girl's body anymore. As I continued to go back to that story, as we reprocessed the memory, I was watching what was happening to that little girl. And I started to get further and further away as I was reimagining this story. And I'm seeing in you know, the beliefs that I had about myself at that time, or how people must have felt about me, or, you know, cared for me in those moments, was now replaced with, oh wow, that was just a bad moment. You know, somebody made a choice that was hurtful, and she's okay. That little girl is okay. And I want to get emotional, but it was me. And I'm like, oh, she's okay. And then I'm like, I'm okay. You guys, it was, I literally could be in that moment and I was saying, what is happening to me? I was in that moment and I'm like, what is happening to me? And it got to the point where I was so far away when I was trying to envision this situation that was happening that I could barely see. It was like yards away. And I'm like, wow, the picture started to lighten up. When I was first in that setting, it seemed really dark in the room and just really bleak. But by the end of that reprocessing session, which was an hour, it was shiny in that thing. It was shiny. It was sunny. I saw things happening and it didn't feel like a big deal. But when trauma happens to us, it's a big deal. And it might be something that's still a big deal. But in that moment for me, I was not stuck. I was no longer hurt because now it was like, oh, that was just a rough patch. That was like something that maybe happened for 15 minutes and, I'm loved. I'm lovable. I'm awesome, right? And I tend to think that anyway. And, I've come over the course of my life to build my confidence and love myself. But, whenever there were similar situations to what happened in that moment, I was right back there. I didn't have those same confident beliefs about myself until I was able to reprocess them, get those lies away, get those negative thoughts that I'd ascribed onto myself in that situation to be something that I recognize is just not true. And I was able to replace those with those beliefs that I really do believe about myself. And during that reprocessing, strengthening those beliefs in connection to that memory. So now, when I think about that, I can envision, all I can see is how much people in my life care for me. So you reprocess not only that touchstone or original memory, but then you go through the timeline and you reprocess all of those traumatic or impactful events that have occurred over time, right up until it could have been 5 minutes ago, right before you walked in the therapy session. So you will eventually get through reprocessing all of those memories. And then what happens is those ways that our system showed up to protect us, keep us safe and attached, because as babies, we have to stay safe and stay attached in order to stay alive, okay? And so we're in rescue mode each time a traumatic event happens, not intentionally, but just naturally, so that we can stay safe and stay attached. And what happens is when we have that traumatic experience, we learn, okay, this happens and this is how I show up to protect me. This is how I'm going to know that I'm okay. And, I'm going to essentially stay alive. I'm going to be good, right? So, but when you reprocess those memories, you no longer have that pressure of needing to protect yourself in those ways. Because the way I was protecting myself in that moment, it served me well. I could compartmentalize this and I dealt with it in the way that I dealt with it. And over the years, and anytime a similar situation came, I dealt with it the way that I dealt with it. It was working for me. It was good. Until I realized that it wasn't so good for me anymore. That's why people tend to go to therapy. Once the ways that we try to protect ourselves, try to keep ourselves on a path where we feel like we're not just losing it, right? when it's no longer serving us to protect ourselves in that way, then we see that we're needing to talk to somebody. You can provide new ways that you want to rethink and behave when some similar situation comes up in the future. It's called the future template. And then you can install those memories, and it really changes the way that you interact when those moments come. I'm going to be sharing some more about EMDR, but I really just wanted to come and talk about my experience as a client more so you can know I have experienced this myself. I'm not just blowing smoke. This is life-changing. Like I said, I am looking for a therapist myself to finish reprocessing some things and establish some new ways of interacting with people in the world. And I'm really excited. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. I'll respond, and I hope to be helpful to you. Thank you, guys.